Hello, welcome to Tight Lines. There's an old saying that it's better to be lucky than good, but I tend to go along with golfer Gary Player's ideology that the more he practised, the luckier he got. This week's guest, top sea angler Dave Lewis, revels in the nickname Lucky, and he must have practised a lot because he's definitely good. It's always a pleasure to welcome him to the bothy, and I really enjoy our times fishing together too. As well as hearing what Dave's been up to, also coming up on today's show, we'll be getting afloat with Dave and myself on a wreck fishing session we enjoyed just this week out of Milford Haven with top charter boat skipper Andrew Alsop. We join Andy Ford on a trip to the Kingmere Reef Marine Conservation Zone off the Sussex coast to highlight a campaign to preserve its precious black bream stocks. We'll be out on the bank with some young anglers as Carper Ali Hamidi returns to his old school to introduce some of its current students and teachers to the joys of the sport. And I'll also be announcing the lucky young anglers who've earned top marks in our class, the latest crop of winners in our monthly photo competition. There's certainly plenty to keep you entertained this week. Well, it's good to see you again, mate. Seems like for ages, just a couple of days, and we were out fishing again. How's sport been for you generally?
It's been very good. The last month or so has been, obviously the weather's been good, and that's always a big factor with sea angling. But I think we are really seeing the benefits of those winter gales. And I said the last time I was on that those gales have stopped not only the anglers going out, but the commercial boats. Less commercial fishing, more fish in the sea for us. And I think that's what we're seeing now. It's been very good.
It's also helped stocks that you've spent some time out of the country pursuing other... I mean, this... I've got to bring this picture up and just ask you to explain this, what you're doing, sitting on a pole somewhere. It looks like you've pogo sticked into the sea.
Well, yeah, it's the iconic stilt fishermen of Sri Lanka, southern Sri Lanka, and I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, yes, those sticks really are stronger than they look. They hold my weight. I wouldn't say it's comfortable.
I was going to say they're probably just about as comfortable as that. We'll talk more about that perhaps a bit later on. But on Monday this week, Dave and I got together for a session with skipper Andrew Alsop aboard his whitewater charter boat. The plan was to head to some wrecks out in the Celtic Sea in search of haddock, pollock and ling, and then to try our luck for some porbeagle sharks. It was a day I won't ever forget, but maybe not for the expected reason. There we are, just about 30 miles out, over a secret wreck, 250 feet of water. Let's see if the fish have found it yet.
Well, this is the rig we're using. It's just basically a set of Hawkeye lures, something about a 3040, 3 hooks aplenty, and just bait each one with a little bit of frozen mackerel. But the key thing when you're fishing a wreck such as this or a reef is to attach the lead by what we call a rotten bottom. My main line's about 20-pound breaking strain. This 12 inches of line here attaching the lead's actually about 12. So if I get stuck in the bottom, hopefully all I'll lose is a lead. And that when you're actually doing this style of fishing, it's important you actually fish on the bottom, so tackle losses are inevitable.
First fish of the day. A steady tap, tap, tap as the lead dragged over the bottom. Quite a long way to wind it up. It's getting close now, there's the orange line. There's our first fish. My first ever haddock, identified by the thumbprint of Sir Peter on the side. There you go. You have bites, Dave?
Yeah, I've got a fish on, Keith.
Oh, well done.
See if I can match your haddock. Whoop, it's come off. I should say I lost it.
Oh, no. Andrew's in, look. Skipper's in. Not fair, is it?
Right in. Decent enough whiting. It's a better one, Keith.
Well, it might be, Dave. It's pretty Just a pretty gentle bite as soon as it hit the bottom, really. Close now. Here's a nice one. Yeah.
I got one, Keith.
Oh, well done, Dave.
As Andrew said, they're just as you come off the side of the wreck, aren't they? You know,
Yeah.
You can sort of feel the metalwork and
Yeah, that's right.
get on the cleaner ground. He was also saying as the tide's sort of ripping along quite hard at the moment, these will probably feed better towards slack water.
Oh, yeah.
So I might try a little shadow something a minute, see if there's some pollock or coals
Yeah.
on you. The thing with haddock is they're like a coal fish, not like a pollock or a ling that get they sort of blow up with the pressure differences to get hauled up to the surface. A haddock will keep kicking, as you can see. This is I'm probably setting myself up for a fall now. It's probably a pouter or something, but I'm going to call this one haddock.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very nice haddock. As haddock go, that's a decent fish. Certainly 4 pound, maybe a little bit more. And very, very nice eating as well.
Mine don't feel very big, Dave. What about yours?
No, it's not as big as the last few we've had. Definitely banging about like it's a haddock though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say mine's definitely a haddock.
Andrew's up to no good behind us.
I think he's got plans for you for later, mate.
Yeah.
Here we are.
There you go.
A lovely brace of haddock. There you go.
A brace of haddocks with a brace of haddock.
There we are, something like that.
Well done, mate. It's been a brilliant here, isn't it? Really, really.
It's actually been very slow, Keith.
Has it?
I mean, some of the days out here with Andrew on these wrecks, I mean, you know, 30, 40, 50 haddock. And ling, we haven't seen a ling, which is surprising.
And now he's going to take us away and make us do something else.
I think he's got a chance of a shark for you or something he's on
gonna-
about. You
he's
said
gonna-
you've never had a poor beagle?
He's going to punish me.
Oh, well, I'll look forward to watching that.
Cheers, mate.
Andrew many times and seen thousands of dolphins, and quite often they'll come up and they'll play with you for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes. These have been with us, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and they're still coming and they're playing. I don't care what anyone says, these fish are playing with us. They're coming up through the twin hulls of Andrew's catamaran. We're leaning over, photographing them, doing all but touching them. It's magnificent. You won't get dolphin watching as good as this anywhere in the world. This is as good as it gets.
We got let down by the Sharks a bit, but I think we can be excused for spending the time watching those. I mean, it finished up nearly an hour, those dolphin, and you were so excited you even called them fish. but they were around us. I've never seen, like you, I've been in pods of dolphins all over the world.
Every time you go down, you see a lot of dolphins. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I see dolphins out, and people don't believe me when I tell them that out from the UK, I see dolphins more often than I don't see.
I think
them.
you're right.
When we're out fishing, but to have them do that, they were eyeballing themselves in the stainless steel props. They were swimming through the tunnel of the Catman, and even Andrew was reaching over, and they seemed to be coming out of the water enough for him to touch them, and they wanted to interact with us.
They were playing with us. People explain animal behaviour in different ways, and I don't know if anyone knows all the answers, but those fish that day, they were playing with us. They wanted to be there. I was calling them fish all the time.
Yeah. Welcome back. Sea Angler Dave Lucky Lewis is my guest this week, and we weren't all that lucky, were we? Was it Monday? We weren't that lucky, and when I looked at Andrew's fish finder, and it was solid from 60 feet up off the bottom.
The wreck was
there were
full of fish.
Absolutely full. Why didn't we catch more?
My money's on easterly wind, high pressure. I mean, it's the kiss of death, and that day was the first day when the high really sort of became dominant. We had the first of those easterly winds, I think it was northeasterly, and then went to southeasterly, and fish were feeding, but nothing like they should. No. I mean, normally they'd expect 40, 50, 60 haddock without drying, and we got enough, but it can be a lot better.
They seemed to be better when we packed up, and we had to pack up because we wanted to give ourselves as long as go as a pool beagle, then, of course, we got interfered with by the dolphins. But we tried for pollock, we tried all sorts of things. Put a big flapper down for ling, and they were definitely there, but they wouldn't feed. And that, we blame all sorts of things when we're fishing off the beach. Oh, the fish ain't there. The fish are there.
Well, the thing is, instead of the pressure, the high pressure, I mean, we caught haddock, and I made the point in the film that they're not affected by pressure as they come up through the water column, the same as a ling and a pollock, which are. Yeah. And we didn't catch a single ling and a single pollock, which is very unusual. Yeah. And again, I think that adds a bit of weight to my high-pressure easterly wind theory.
But one thing I've noticed is there's a lot of fish being reported off the top, bass in particular, are coming to really shallow stuff. And you've got some lures that you've bought in, and these are sort of, you described them as the perfect bass lures.
They're great. I mean, I've used surface lures on and off for the last 20 years, but the last couple of years I'm using these as my go-to lure for bass. They're fantastic. These Rapala skitter pops, sure, you just cast them and just let them pop across the surface, and the fish...
This pushes a load of water out. It really does make a noise,
Just jerk them a few times, a little snatch and stop, let it sit for a few seconds, and a little snatch again, and the fish come up and hit the hell out of it.
Now that's more streamlined.
That's a walk the dog lure. That's a little stick bait. It's a Rapala X-Wrap, and that's a little twitch, and it comes across and swims, and fantastic action.
And they do really smack into them on the surface.
Really aggressive visual takes. Yeah. Fantastic fishing.
But it's not only bass, is it? Because
no.
Look at that. Yeah. This, I've got to tell you, is an absolute creature. It's, for those people that have never seen one, it's a tarpon, and it's a big tarpon as well. And you can see, look, it's nearly destroyed the lure. Look at that clip there. That's come open just about almost to straighten, I would think. And the leader here, you can see that's abraded. There's no tarpon, haven't got teeth, but they've got very, very hard, bony plates in their mouths. And that leader is abraded over its mouth and probably over its gill covers as well. And you were close to losing that fish, and you wouldn't want to lose it because that is an absolute whacker.
I mean, it was actually rigged for snook. We were snook fishing, and this thing just came up and ate the lure. And
where were you?
Nicaragua.
Oh, Nicaragua. I mean, that you can see it there, but that's the size of the fish. Look at that.
That's actually a different fish.
Oh, is it a different one?
Yeah, that's a different one. That one's just out the mouth of the estuary. That one there in the picture's probably 70 pounds, and that was in a freshwater lagoon in the middle of the jungle. This is just outside, and the skipper and myself is 180. I don't know if it was...
It's a massive fish. I mean, it's the depth. The depth gives these away. It's the bit from across the back, and they get the bigger fish get deep all the way down their
Yes.
body to the tail, and a 120 pounder isn't much smaller than a 180 pounder, but there's a lot of difference in girth.
When they jump,
Magnificent
they
fish.
can't get out of the water completely.
Yeah.
You know, they just sort of come up and wallow.
Yeah.
And, you know, you
Yeah.
just see straight away it's a solid lump of tarpon.
But using these in the UK, you've changed your whole approach to lure fishing, haven't you?
I have. Yeah, increasingly, again, picking up from my experiences overseas, I've started using a single-handed American bait casting outfit. At the end of the day, these lures are plastic. No bass is going to come up and eat a piece of plastic. You've got to convince them that they're a fish. And
Yeah.
the way they're designed is one thing, but you've actually got to impart the action to the lure to convince the fish to come up and eat it. These little single-handed bait casting outfits are perfect for casting. They're very, very accurate, but the rods are normally stiffer with a very fast action. So every bit of movement...
Let's see if we can move that right back as far as you can go.
Yeah. Every bit of action you impart to the tip, providing you're using a quality braid, is imparted to the lure.
It's pokey.
It's a very powerful rod.
And of course, you can make these work with braided line because there's
don't
absolutely
work with
no
monofilament.
stretch. No, they don't.
Nothing,
And
yeah.
The other thing as well with mono, you probably couldn't use this reel because it had no capacity.
None at all. I mean, this little chronic, I suppose, is 120 yards of braid on there.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
I mean, you cast, I don't know, 30, 40 yards, that's sufficient.
Do you find you get a better action using these little bait cast reels than with a fixed spool?
Much so, definitely. And
Why
again,
do
this
you
is
think
something
that is?
it's just more natural. With a fixed spool, it's kind of like the sort of patting your head and, you know,
Yeah.
this sort of thing
I know
on
what
your
you
stomach
mean.
thing. Yes, you can do it. I'm not very good at it. I fish with people who are very good at it. But as soon as I've started doing the same sort of walk the dog action with these lures with this outfit, I just find it so much easier. It's just more natural. I can flick the tip of this rod and wind the handle
Yeah.
and concentrate on working the lure.
Yeah.
Whereas with a fixed spool, I tend to be concentrating on getting the action right more than concentrating
Keeping
on
it
the
smoother.
lure.
Yeah. Yeah. The incredible thing with these for me is you go to the United States, they're not called multipliers. That is called a conventional reel.
Yes.
That, if you looked in a catalogue for a bait caster, a spin caster
Yeah.
will be a fixed spool,
Yeah.
but this will be a conventional reel or a bait casting conventional reel.
Yeah, and that's what all the bass, you know, freshwater bass
Yeah.
anglers use.
And when you look at some of the fish that will take, stand that back up,
Yeah.
there, Dave. Don't forget it when you go, will you?
I'll try not to.
Yeah, okay. Some of the other fish you catch on those, what's that? That looks a bit like a wrasse.
It's another Nicaraguan freshwater species. It's a rainbow bass. It's actually a type of cichlid. And this is a little little angry bird lure. It was a limited edition range, and I took them out more as a joke than anything. But they were very very effective. I love them.
You're really into your lure fishing as well. I mean, this is another dream fish. This is the Mr. Nasty of the ocean. Probably the hardest fighting, the most aggressively fighting fish you'll ever catch.
Pound for pound, they're you know, in a class of their own. The thing with this GT
Giant Trevally.
Giant Trevally, they're always caught near structure,
Yeah.
and if you let them have an inch, you're going to lose it. You hook it and stop it.
Like some females, give them an inch, they think they're rulers.
Yeah.
And this is what you went to Nicaragua for.
That for me was the fish of the year so far. I mean, the tarpon were lovely, the GTs were lovely. I've always been passionate about my snook fishing. I don't know what it is about the species. I love catching snook, but it's always been my jinx species. I mean, I've had lots of snook, but I've never had what I call a really big one.
Yeah.
I've been out with friends who
slob.
have. I got that 21-pounder on the first day of the trip and made the trip for me.
Yeah. Now, you say made a trip for you, and we get loads of people that go abroad and, I'm going to go and swim with the dolphins. I've got to have another look at these that we saw on Monday, because it is something that you've got to be blessed to see, haven't you? It's something that you wouldn't normally even get close to, even on one of these watch the dolphins trips.
Wouldn't do.
This is just absolutely unbelievable. We're sort of 25, 28 miles off the Welsh coast. Look at the colour of the water.
Yeah.
I mean, these films aren't treated. That's how it came out the camera. It's perfectly blue water, crystal clear.
I mean, it was just, you know, there's so many factors came together. Obviously, it was a flat, calm day.
Yep.
Then we had the bright sunshine,
Yep.
which is always a bonus, and it was in the right direction. Then the water clarity was as clear as you will ever see it. And lastly, the fish wanted to interact with us. I mean, you had all
Dolphins
those...
wanted to. The fish
I keep
didn't.
calling them
Mate,
fish.
the fish wouldn't play ball. They were the Mr. Nasties of the day. They're the ones that they're dolphins, aren't they?
Dolphin
Saying
mammals,
the mammals is wrong, but
they wanted to interact
Yeah,
with us. You know,
they definitely did.
You know, they just came to us and they stayed with us. I mean, normally, as you know, they come alongside, they have a look, 2-3 minutes, they're gone.
Yeah.
If that, these were, it was the best part of an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, just lost track of the time in the end, you know, just enjoying the moment.
When I've been out with Andrew and I've seen almost as many fins as that around the boat, but they've been sharks. But the sharks just wouldn't play. And I suppose with the bait fish, if you like, the prey fish, the haddock and the ling, weren't active. Probably that's why the sharks weren't so active.
Everything shut down that day. I mean, the following day, the wind changed round to the southwest. Andrew went out, I think it was 11 blues, 5 poor beagles. That's fishing.
And the day before as well, he'd had 4 blues, 4 poor beagles and 10 blues, including, I think, he had a 278 the day before, poor beagle.
He's had
not weighed, he measures them, doesn't he? He's got
the
charts.
Big fish. Yeah, that's right, he did, Simon Hughes, he had 278.
Incredible fish.
Huge fish.
Yeah. My name's on that for next time we go out, by the way, because, of course, he returns every one of these sharks alive. They're all made sure they're OK. They go back and they swim away. Generally give them a bath in the process as the tail goes on. Welcome back. When Martin Salter was here a few weeks ago, he told us about a set of measures proposed by the Angling Trust that, it's hoped, will help protect the black bream stocks on a famous south coast mark. He invited us to join them and some other dedicated anglers on a trip to highlight the issue. So Andy Ford went along to find out more.
It's a gorgeous morning out here just off the coast of Shoreham, and we're fishing on one of the most sort of famous black bream marks in the country, the Kingmere Reef, which is about 10 kilometres off the Sussex coast. It's one of those areas where the bream come to spawn, which is why it's such a hot spot. Why do you think they're such an important species?
Well, of course, the way bream spawn makes them particularly vulnerable to commercial exploitation. I mean, the fish guard the nests for a distinct period of time, and it would be possible to decimate stocks, particularly when you've got spawning aggregations. And I think if we can get the conservation measures right here on the Kingmere, we can protect this iconic species and hopefully provide a template for better conservation practice all the way around the shores of this country.
That's a big task. But Martin Salter's never been worried about taking on a big job. Anglers have come here to the famous Kingmere Reef to try and catch black bream like this for generations. The first of the day was caught by former England international Jim Whippy. This is a typical Kingmere specimen, a female caught on a small sliver of squid. Bream make their nests on the reef every year, and every year anglers come to try and catch them. The ones as good as Jim can catch a lot.
Bream are my favourite fish, I must admit. You know, if you fish light for them, and they give you great sport, and they're real feisty little fish.
Feisty or not, there's nothing the bream can do to escape a commercial trawler in these waters. They take thousands of fish every year. But this is one of 27 areas proposed as marine conservation zones by government. When the zones are officially created, it could restrict trawling. What about recreational angling, though? Today's trip was all about pushing a new voluntary code of conduct to help ensure anglers can still fish here, with certain very important guidelines. Well, that is Martin Salter's first UK black bream.
Do you know what? I've caught these on the other side of the world in Australia. Never ever fished them in England. And do you know what, Andy? I'm going to do this again. They are beautiful little fish,
aren't they?
I guess this is the closest thing to coarse fishing you can get in the marine environment, really, isn't it? I mean, subtle biting fish, fight hard, not too big, and they go back beautifully, and that's the best thing about them.
Well, let's pop this one back, because that's part of the reason we're here today.
Paul, come on, darling. Go back to Kingmere. There she goes.
Catch and release is just part of it. Using fine wire hooks and using a damp towel to handle the fish are also on the list. But perhaps the most important thing of all is how to treat female black bream when they're about to lay their eggs on the reef.
The habitat itself, the seabed habitat, is where the bream nest, and they're pretty particular about this sort of chalk habitat that they like. They create depressions in the rock where they lay their eggs and where they create these nests. And it just so happens that this part of the Sussex coast has the ideal habitat to create one of the largest bream nesting areas that we know of in the English Channel.
That's probably the best fish of the day. That's a female,
lovely
isn't it?
fat female, isn't it? She's really rode up. She's almost starting to come out now. So we need to get her back pretty quick.
And the benefit of using the fine wire hook, pretty easy to take out.
That's right. Well, it's right in the mouth there. It's very easy.
I don't know what this man's secret is, but he can certainly catch bream.
Well, I did say it's my favourite fish. I love them.
Let's get that one back.
Yeah. Go on, girl. Bring us out.
A couple of the fish you've had this morning have been superb, haven't they? And they're such stunning looking fish.
Yeah, that's one of the attractions of them. Not only are they a real feisty little fighter, but they look attractive. They've got nice shiny scales. I mean, the males, you saw the blue on the head of the males, you know, when they're in their mating mode. And to say the females are all plump with roe, where they're all congregated here on this Kingmere Reef. You know, it's a terrific spot.
What makes it special for you as an angler?
Well, I think the guarantee you're going to come here and catch bream. I mean, there's loads of places you can go on the rocks and you can put down a bait, perhaps catch a pout. But here, you're almost certain you're going to catch black bream when you come here.
Catching fish like these here on Kingmere is an activity which supports whole communities in towns like Littlehampton, where recreational anglers stay, spend their money and support the local economy. It also supports skippers like Mark Vale, our host for the day on She Likes It Too.
It's a fantastic area for angling, fantastic. There's such a variety of fish here. I mean, we come here for the bream, we come here for the bass, we come, you know, there's just so many different fish here actually. There's the plaice, there's the smoothhound, there's cope, there's a lot of fish here.
We've seen a lobster on the boat as well.
The occasional lobster, crab, yeah.
How does the sort of the commercial attack on this part of the marine wildlife area affect, you know, the fishing? The trawlers that come through and take the fish, how does that affect things?
It has a huge impact with the pair trawling especially. I mean, there's a big thing about pair trawling at the moment, and I mean, I know guys have got to go and earn their living and what have you, but it has an effect on this area. We've noticed it over the years that catches have diminished.
You know, my wish is to restrict towed gear much more comprehensively along the Sussex coast, and I think that's something that we will try and fight for as we go forward. I mean, it's going to be difficult, but you know, that's something that we really want to work for. And I think when you think of the benefit angling brings generally to the coastal towns all the way along here, you know, we have a lot of economic power, and I think we should use it.
I'm out here because it's great to be out in the natural environment. It's great to be mixing with fellow anglers. It's good company. I don't often sleep the night before a fishing trip. I get that excited about it. And of course, it's fine to take the odd fish home for the pot, but we're not fishmongers. We're anglers. You know, we're fishing for sport. We're fishing for enjoyment. We're fishing for tomorrow. We're not joining the commercial sector in a race to catch the last fish in the ocean. That way lies madness.
We are the guardians of the sea, yes. I mean, we're out here, charter boats are out here, private boats are out here. I mean, you'll see there's 2 or 3 around here at the moment. And we see what's going on. We can, and obviously we're catching fish all the time, so we can sort of monitor, you know, what's being caught and where. And in fact, the local IFCA are using charter boats from Littlehampton to tag bream to find out what they're doing, you know, at different times of the year. And I think that's a really good thing.
Anglers like Tim keeping a watchful eye could help protect this extraordinary species. But if people want to keep on fishing here for sport, they'll have to show they can be trusted to be responsible. The end of a great day's fishing, where as many as 50 black bream were caught, most of them by Jim Whippy. This time, every single one was returned safely to the Kingmere Reef. So Martin, here we are back in Shoreham Port. Your abiding memory of today? It's been extraordinary.
It's been a wonderful day. Those beautiful blue bands across the head of the big male bream, and the idea that they're aggressively defending these nests on this wonderful habitat that is the Kingmere Reef. I'm so pleased that anglers are taking conservation seriously. I'm pleased that we're able to highlight recreational sea angling in a very positive light, trying to do the right thing by the species, and of course it was great to learn some new fishing techniques.
Here's a recap of some of those voluntary measures that the Angling Trust are proposing. Careful handling, use of fine wire hooks, bag limits and so on. The sacrificial anchor's an interesting one. Basically, the idea is to cut off your anchor so you don't damage the reef as you pull it back up. What do you think, Dave? I mean, I think there's a lot more discussion needs to happen for a start. I mean, I've caught my first black bream on the Kingmere Rock, as we used to call it then, in probably 1963. So they've been there for a very, very long time. Then, of course, we put them all back because nobody had them because they were, you know, cotton wool stuffed with bones.
I think that idea has come from boats on tropical reefs made of coral.
Oh, this is the anchor thing, yeah.
The anchoring, yeah. Obviously, anchoring on coral can cause a massive amount of damage very quickly. My understanding of Kingmere is it consists of boulders, big boulders the size of a VW or bigger. And if everyone's going to leave an anchor there, you know, just cut the anchor off, I mean, it's just going to be all sorts of snags there, and anglers are going to have hooked fish getting tangled up in lines. I just don't get that bit. But I think bag limits are the future. I mean, sea anglers have got to learn to accept them.
Anglers have got to play their part, there's no doubt about it. That's it for another week. You can keep in touch with us on Twitter and the website, of course. There's loads of good stuff on there. And email's the way to send us any questions or young angler photos. Dave, it's been great to see you again, mate. Seems like a week. Now, next week, we'll be up at Cudmore Fisheries in Staffordshire to bring you a full preview of Saturday's main event, Fishermania 21. Yes, we'll be live at 7 p.m. for a look ahead to the most famous match on the UK scene, and we'll be doing so in the company of defending champion Jamie Hughes. The show will also be available on demand, as it is every week. Find us in the Sky Sports section of Catch Up. And make sure you join us on the big day itself, Saturday the 12th of July. We're live from noon on Sky Sports 3. That's the grand final of Fishermania 21 next Saturday. And it's followed on Sunday by the Fishermania International. See if world champions England can defend their Fisho title too. Again, live from noon on Sky Sports 3. Next up, Cudmore. Have a great week and tight lines. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Keith.
Watch all 6 Sky Sports channels on your mobile and online.